An Atlas V rocket is set to take off from the Space Coast this evening, and our News 13 meteorologists are especially excited for the launch. Mallory Nichols is going in depth now to explain why.
All right, so we know that rocket launches take place from the Space Coast all the time, but this one is especially exciting for us meteorologists because it's a weather satellite on board an Atlas V rocket. Check it out. This is the rocket and the GOESR satellite rolling out onto the launch pad on Friday. The data coming from this satellite will soon be what you see on Storm Tracker 13. And meteorologist Maureen McCann is out at the Space Coast to see it take flight and go in depth on how it can help the News 13 weather team. So first question, Maureen, what is GOESR?
So GOESR, Mallory, is the next generation of weather satellites adding to the constellation that we currently have in operation that is going to provide better technology, much higher resolution at a much faster speed. So this is going to be a game changer when it comes to weather forecasting. What we see now in Weather on the Ones, we see loops of satellites that go back maybe over the past hour, past couple of hours, but we're going to see things happening in real time as opposed to what has already happened. So it's going to be much faster with higher resolution. GOES is an acronym. It stands for Geostationary Operational Environmental Satellite R series. It will be known as GOES-16 once it reaches its geostationary orbit. We've been using these satellites since the mid-70s, so this is going to be the biggest advancement we have seen in this technology in over 40 years.
And as meteorologists, we typically use some big words. So the G in GOESR means geostationary. What exactly does that mean?
That means it's going to have a fixed view of the Earth. Think of it like a camera in the sky that will be able to constantly observe weather from above the equator at about 22,300 miles. So it is going to be rotating with the Earth on its axis. So we'll have that same view to constantly be monitoring our weather that we can in turn be presenting within Weather on the Ones.
Okay, we already have GOES satellites orbiting right now that we use. So what improvements, how is this one different?
It's really the instruments on board the satellite, Mallory, and how they have really come along with technology. The primary instrument is known as the ABI, the Advanced Baseline Imager. This is where we're going to see the biggest change because it's going to have 3 times spectral channels, meaning we're going to be able to see different types of data 3 times more than what we have now. And the resolution is going to be 4 times better than what we have now, so you'll be able to zoom in at a much closer view compared to what is available with the current network of GOES satellites. And then it's the speed, it's the scan rate. It's going to be 5 times faster. Scientists and researchers have been working on this technology for nearly 20 years to get to this point. So now we're going to be able to see storms intensify and decay in real time, which will really help us as forecasters do what's called nowcasting, meaning being able to see those storms evolve in real time. I've heard it being compared to like giving our current satellite imagery LASIK surgery to provide more clarity, or I've heard it's kind of like going from a black and white view of television to HD TV. So it's just going to be a significant upgrade. The other instrument that's going to be really cool that we've never had access to before is called the GLM, the Geostationary Lightning Mapper. We've never been able to see lightning from a perspective of space. So this means we're going to be able to see lightning strikes at a much faster rate, and it will help us be able to determine the strength of updrafts of thunderstorms. If they are going to be intensifying or decaying, it's really going to help the forecast process and ultimately the warning process.
That's a big deal to be able to see that lightning tracker, a big deal that they're sending up here. And we use satellite imagery all the time on Storm Tracker 13. We show it to our viewers. How exactly is this GOESR going to improve our day-to-day weather prediction like you typically see on the Weather on the Ones?
So if you just remember those 2 tools I talked about, the instruments that are going to be on board, the ABI, the Advanced Imager, and also the GLM, the Lightning Mapper, you put those 2 together, it's going to give us a view of the atmosphere in real time like we've never had before. So this is going to enable more precise forecasting and better warnings so that we can give those warnings to the public and help people prepare. There are so many advantages that we're going to get from this technology, Mallory, including hurricane track and intensity forecasts are going to be better. We'll know more about lightning strikes and where they are, and flash flooding is also a huge risk. We've seen that with storms recently, and we're going to be able to see that much better. Beyond weather, space weather technology is going to really improve, so we can know more about solar flares and how that could disrupt navigation or communication satellites.
Okay, and you mentioned all of the improvements that we're going to see, hurricane track intensity forecast. Is there any more information on exactly how this is going to help us with our forecasting?
Well, if you think about it, Mallory, we're going to have the ability to see these storms develop in real time out over the ocean. We already use satellite data to watch tropical systems as they evolve, as they move across the Atlantic. But you combine that with the GLM data, the lightning data, we're going to be able to see storms intensify in real time, and we're going to be able to see it at a much faster scan rate. So this is really going to help us get better information to put into those computer models that can give us more accurate output on where storms would go and how they're going to intensify. So this is definitely going to be a huge improvement when it comes to tropical forecasting.
Okay, and I have one more question for you. You've talked about all these great points that this is going to help to improve forecasting for the future. Exactly when are we going to be able to use that?
So it's not going to be instantaneous. Yes, this is going to take flight on board the Atlas V rocket and be sent to space, but it has to go through a period of testing and validation, and it's going to be about 6 months, but we should be able to see some preliminary images. I've heard about 2 months in, we're going to get to see what's called the baby photos, preliminary pictures of the satellite data, but we're going to really see it in about a year in Storm Tracker 13 when we get this high-resolution satellite data.
Yeah, and a lot of us meteorologists are looking forward to that. Thank you, Maureen, and she's going to be out there for the actual launch. And Maureen is one of the dozens of meteorologists from around the country that's at the Space Coast to actually see it launch. GOESR has been fixed upon an Atlas V rocket, and of course, you'll be able to see that launch take place right here on News 13. If you're headed to watch the launch in person, or you see it from where you live, share those photos with us on our News 13 Plus app.
Today's launch window is from 5:42 to 6:42 p.m. And as always, you'll be able to watch it live right here on News 13.